accidents in the home, on the road, or in the workplace, surgical operations, violence. Hematrix Active Patch stops heavy bleeding at once. A major injury to the human body doesn't just affect the tissue. It can also damage large blood vessels. That means severe bleeding, which can be life-threatening if it's not treated. First aiders need to act fast to stop the bleeding. Thousands of blood vessels weave an intricate network throughout the skin, tissue, and muscles. They keep the body supplied with nutrients and oxygen. An accident or a surgical operation injures skin, tissue, and muscles, and injures blood vessels. The high pressure in the large blood vessels instantly forces blood out and into the surrounding tissue. Blood rushes out through the wound. The blood clotting process begins straight away, but the components needed for clotting are carried away by the blood flow. Clotting is delayed, and bleeding continues. The classic first aid treatment for heavy bleeding is to apply a pressure dressing to the wound, but even this only slows extreme loss of blood. Experience shows that it takes time, sometimes several hours, for bleeding to stop completely. What's more, bleeding can start again if the pressure dressing is removed. The pressure dressing also encourages hematoma to form, as blood surges out of the injured vessels under high pressure and is forced into the surrounding tissue. A classic pressure dressing stops bleeding with some delay after a comparatively long compression time. Encourages hematoma to develop, sometimes very noticeably. Often leads to secondary bleeding. Hematrix Active Patch is an innovative wound dressing for severe injuries. It can stop even heavy bleeding immediately. A Hematrix Active Patch is made from polyurethane foam. The foam provides a very large surface area to meet the outflow of blood. The patch speeds up the blood clotting process and very soon slows the flow of blood from the injured vessel. The surface of a Hematrix Active Patch is also impregnated with natural clotting factors. As soon as they come into contact with blood, they act as a catalyst and trigger the clotting process. Natural blood clotting continues right up to the injured blood vessel, but does not affect the flow characteristics of the circulating blood. After a short time, bleeding is stopped. Bleeding does not restart even when the Hematrix Active Patch is removed carefully from the wound after 5 to 6 minutes. The advantages of the Hematrix Active Patch in summary. It can be relied upon to stop bleeding within a few minutes. There is no secondary bleeding. It doesn't restrict the circulation. Hematoma is rare. To finish with, here's a comparison of wound treatment with a traditional pressure dressing and with a Hematrix Active Patch. After just a few minutes, the Hematrix Active Patch has stopped the bleeding. Hematrix Active Patch stops heavy bleeding at once.